Hey everyone, this is a content disclaimer because in today's episode we talk about suicide. If you or anyone you know is struggling, please know there are resources available to help you. We've listed some in this episode's description. In times when people scream in order to be heard, we must relearn constructive discourse, especially about the things that hurt. We must understand what it really takes to heal. We are going to tell our stories of mental health from our perspectives and not the perspective of stigma. Here we invite our angels and our demons to the table because listening to what their stories have to teach us allows us to grow. In the Treehouse, we are safe in our vulnerability. In our vulnerability, we are unstoppable. And today in the Treehouse, I am incredibly excited and honored to announce that we have an old school friend of mine, Jennifer Walder, coming to you from New York City in a sound booth closet that's like 800 degrees and looks like a space station, and just hands to Jennifer right now.
Thanks, Ryan. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I think for all our listeners, just before we started recording, Jen asked me if we wanted to just start talking about middle school and tell everyone how weird and awkward we were. And I thought that would be a great place to start.
Okay, great. Yeah. 15 years old. Yeah, that's when I met Ryan. Oh gosh, many moons ago.
What year was that?
Do I have to say?
I don't how I'm
This was a long
31
time
now, I
ago.
think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
So am I. 2013? 14? 2014. 2004. Oh my God.
Oh
Math
my
is hard.
gosh.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Oof.
Time is weird.
It feels like several lifetimes ago. But this is a little bit what my surprise is about, because when I first saw Jennifer, and this, of course, I'm talking for the listeners. When I first saw Jennifer, she showed up first day of school, the new girl, first day of school. Nobody knew her, in skin tight, like red leather pants.
It's not true. That is not true.
Maybe they were black.
Oh my
I don't
God.
know. We were all like freaking out.
Oh my God. Your mind has warped this over the years, my friend. They were definitely like black slacks, first of all, like dress pants. Oh, slacks. I was trying so hard to be cool. Yeah, they were like black slacks from Kohl's, like a black shirt, and then I had this like, it was like a cool purple scarf, but I had just dyed my hair red, like fire engine red for fun, because that was a great idea before starting new school.
Yes.
And I tied this purple scarf into a knot. These were like my like peak Avril Lavigne days and like good Charlotte days. This is my first day of school, first day of 8th grade. And I came in the middle of the year, so everybody already knew each other by then. But I mean, I'll never forget you. You were so nice to me, and now I know why.
It was because of the slacks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not my winning personality and nothing like that.
Oh my gosh. Well, we all fell in. We were like the crew with like colorful shoelaces and, you know, spiky tips. And it was like,
yeah,
you know, oh, cool hacky sack. Oh my God, it's sand. Like, you're cool.
Yep.
Give me a warhead.
Yeah, give me a warhead. Go Silver Team.
Oh man. Oh, this has been a long time coming. And because I mean, I originally called out to you last year, you know, in 2020, and we were set to record hopefully that Christmas. And I just feel I can honestly just deadpan say that I didn't know what was going to happen in my personal life. And I definitely dropped the ball several times in getting this show going, because I started struggling with personal finance, and I started hitting the rent wall, and I had to choose like eating this, you know, and then when I started getting ready, I feel like life got pretty crazy. on all my guests' ends. And I believe you just got back from like a really quick trip back to Colorado for a race.
No. Oh, no. Yeah. 2020 was crazy. I feel like 2020 was like 5 years condensed into one, and we are all going to need to talk about it for a really long time just to kind of understand what the heck has happened in all of our various walks of life. But
Yeah,
man, I feel you. I'm sorry. I didn't really know why the episode got postponed, but hey, I'm
yeah.
here. I'm happy. I'm happy to be part of it, like I said. But yeah, we took a quick trip back to Colorado. My dad was ill, so quick 4-day trip. He's doing much better now. He's good.
Okay,
He's in good
good,
health now. But yeah,
good.
it was
What's your dad's name?
Jim.
Jim.
Yep.
You got
He
nicknames?
remembers you. Oh my God, he remembers you. Right, like first week of school, like I don't remember. We must have been leaving we must have been leaving the play, The King and I.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking about you or something, and he was like, "Man, oh no, that you're gonna love this." Oh my God, that's not what it was. He's like, God, he's of course he's like, "Good job, Jennifer. You did so good in the school play," and then out of nowhere he goes, "That Ryan Boley, man, he is so tall. You ever thought about dating him?" I was like, "Dad, oh my God."
Last thing you want to talk about with dad.
I was so embarrassed, but he was so taken with you.
Anyway, okay. So instead of trying to access my memory of 2004, because clearly it's not doing super well for me, we'll just zoom back up to the moment. But I'm really glad that your dad's doing better. That's a scary thing.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, so how has it been for you out there? What's New York City like now?
Oh, that's a big question. There's so much to say. It's been crazy. Just to keep it brief, it has been. I don't know how to keep it brief. Like I didn't live here when 9/11 happened. I was still in middle school at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
Those who have lived here long enough say like the aftermath of COVID-19 is very similar to 9/11. People leaving and whatnot, but having to adapt to mask wearing and social distancing and new social norms and the plethora of other adjustments that we've had to make in our daily life has been shocking, I would say. But I mean, at this point, we're well over a year into it, and like it's getting easier to accept. And now I'm so grateful that things are starting to lighten up. Like you're starting to see more and more people like doing outdoor dining, and even people doing indoor dining, which is encouraging because that means, empty New York City is not as fun as a full New York City. So it's good to see people coming back. And, I am so optimistic that things will be up and running by the summertime. And, everybody needs it so bad. Like, we went to the park this last weekend. That was one of our saving graces of, quarantine. We'll just take a blanket, take the dog, go to the park and like sit out, and, seemed like the rest of Brooklyn joined us because everybody was out like playing volleyball, like playing with their kids. Like everybody is so ready for nice weather and kind of getting back to whatever this normal is going to be. Like we will see, but
yeah, just feeling like a human a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, if this is the time for me to stand on my soapbox, like get your vaccines, wear your masks when you have to, wash your hands, and don't cough on anybody.
Yeah.
Be a decent human. That's
and
it.
Put your mask on before you get into the coffee shop. No one cares how much of a hurry you're in. Don't come in all exacerbated and put your mask on after you exhale all your fucking egg sandwich that you ate in the car on the way to the coffee shop. Like that's a place for everybody.
Oh gosh.
Don't do that. Nobody cares because they're dealing with it too.
Yeah. I think I feel pretty safe in saying like the whole New York mentality is like, we're just going to do what we got to do to get through it. We're just going to buckle down and we're just going to do it because that's what you do. Like it's New York City. Like this is the Mecca. This was ground zero for the virus, like just do what you got to do, get through it. We'll get through it together and be kind. Dang it.
I mean, yeah, not being there, we read about the trucks that they were just putting bodies into.
Yeah.
How prevalent was that in your,
In the
daily?
neighborhood, I didn't see any of that personally, but we do live close to a hospital, and the sirens were going a lot more frequently than normal
Yeah.
right at the beginning. And, we were eagerly watching the news, when they were putting up like the triage tents in Central Park, and when they were
Mhm.
converting, oh my gosh, I'm going to screw up the naval ship on the west side. They converted that naval ship into a COVID-19
Oh,
ward.
wow.
Like
Yeah, like a
that was,
triage.
yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
it was crazy. But I mean, I love New York because people just come together and take care of each other. And like I said, like you keep saying, they just do what you got to do and you get through it and
So
hope
you've
for the best. Yeah.
yeah, you were taken in by this community, but you also set out there on a journey of your own to become a singer,
Hmm.
songwriter, actress.
Hmm.
Am I correct in all that?
Yeah.
And you, I mean, I'd argue that you brought a lot, you bring a lot wherever you go. And I I can only imagine you're brought in the way you are because of what you give.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just cool to hear this, because you don't hear like Longmont United, everybody in Boulder works, or Boulder's a bad example right now, but like other places like, yeah, we do it together. It's like, stay away from me. I'm going to go back to my large yard. And that's not the case in New York. You don't have a you can't go back to a place that's your own. You're in a shared environment. And
Hmm.
I really like to hear that created a massive amount of camaraderie in the movement to just help each other through it
Yeah.
instead of further dividing.
Hmm.
That's awesome.
Crazy times. Like crazy.
That I think that's a good segue to ask you about the so this is the treehouse. We're here to talk about our mental well-being and
Hmm.
how accessible that is, because in today's day and age it doesn't seem that accessible. So I mean, what does that look like? It's becoming more accessible, but I feel like in a lot of areas of my life I've lived and worked in, it's like you try to talk to somebody about something kind of personal and they're like, whoa, that's really uncomfortable, let's not go there, and they shove it into like the politics or religion category. It's just like there's
Yeah.
this wall. So I was really curious, you being out there and especially working with other artists and performing, what is that like? What is it like to how it um gosh, I wrote my prompts and now I can't even speak my own
No, I think
prompts.
I think I understand what you're getting at. As an artist, I think talking about mental health and emotional well-being is much easier than in some other lines of work because as an artist, you just naturally have those floating at the surface. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
as an actor, like your emotions are a heartbeat away from being any which way.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
we as a community look after each other in that respect. If somebody's having a really hard day and you're in rehearsal and you can tell, something's not perfect, something's not right. I've seen it like, hey, how's it going? Like, do you need a hug? Like, what's going on? Is something bothering you? And
Mm-hmm.
there's much more open conversation. And I'm really grateful for that because I just mental health is just as important as going to the gym.
Yeah.
It's a practice. It's a practice. And like you said, I agree. Like a lot of people do shove it into that space of politics, religion. Like, I don't want to hear about it. It's not my problem, but it's not your problem until it becomes your problem. And then what?
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to want somebody to talk to or not have anybody to talk to. And then we're in real trouble.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a huge advocate for going to therapy, reaching out for help, going to support groups, kind of finding whatever works for you, do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How is it? What? where are you, didn't you say you're in Queens?
Oh, I'm in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Okay.
Yeah.
What is it like walking down the street? I mean, going into the grocery store, if you were to just strike up a conversation with somebody, is it kind of like touching a hot burner? Do people kind of stick to pleasantries, or is
Are
it
you like
more
after
acceptable?
COVID? Are you after COVID, during like, what would be more
Oh,
specific? Because
that's a
things
really
have
good question.
changed. Yeah, things have changed.
That's a really good
I have
question.
changed, I should say.
I want to know about those changes. I was curious more like pre-COVID time, like how,
Okay.
you know, because I feel like when I started talking about struggles that I was having, it I didn't always land in a place that was very accepting, like even within my own friend group. And so I've been on this mission to kind of figure out like how people feel in different areas around the country in regard to how easy it is to talk about like internal stuff, or if they're, one example from my life is working in construction. You go to the construction site, it's all like oh, you got
Yeah.
problems, you're weak. And it's like, well, I don't think that's true. Like so how do so that's kind of what I want to root those places out. I want to root those environments out that people have to operate in, like construction culture is one. I'm looking for other cultures that are suppressive to it. And
Hmm.
so that's why I asked that, is like, what does it look like in your world, where you work? And that's really cool that artists, I loved what you said about an artist's heart is always a heartbeat from being somewhere else. Or
Yeah. 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 Just as an actor, like that's part of your training. Like
mhm,
you kind of have to be ready for any situation. Like that's the point. You're handed a scene and anything can happen. You might be asked to do anything, whether
yeah,
it's rage or seduction or infatuation or
mhm.
heartbreak. So yeah.
What of
Um,
those come naturally? Do any of those come really naturally to you?
I think it depends on the person. I mean, I am just a naturally like bubbly, jovial human, so
Mhm,
that comes pretty easy to me. It's like, well, it's the nitty gritty stuff
mhm,
that comes difficult for me. It's especially in relation to my own heartbreak and trauma. They always say like use experiences so long as it's safe. I don't recommend doing any kind of method acting for those of you who are listening and know what that means. But if you find a teacher who can coach you through your own experiences safely,
yeah,
um, then that becomes a safe instance to use that. But it is so hard because you might encounter a scene that is very similar to something that happened in your own life, and you have to figure out how to navigate that.
yeah,
And that's why I think like therapy, group support, having a friend, a partner who knows what's going on, or even just one person on set who knows, like, hey, this was really hard for me. Can I talk to you after this scene? Or I can't go. I'm, if there's anything like that, like, there's a problem going before camera. Like, can you talk me through this? Like, yeah, just kind of
yeah,
having a branch to grab onto, I suppose.
yeah,
Um, as per your question, like what's it like in the community talking about mental health? I can't really answer that because we've been in quarantine and New Yorkers have been
yeah,
so good at quarantine. Like New Yorkers from my perspective, straight white woman living in Brooklyn,
right.
um, from Colorado. Like I've been here 8 years now, but my perspective was, you don't talk to anybody if you don't really have a reason to.
Mhm.
Always help the tourists because
They
they
look
need help,
lost.
and if they look lost, like offer to help because hey, we were all there once and it's really nice to not be turned around in a city of 8 million people.
Mhm,
But, it's not typical to like sit down on the train and have a conversation with a stranger.
mhm,
People will think it's weird,
mhm,
or before COVID will think it's weird. And I guess yeah, I really can't speak to like after and during COVID because I haven't ridden public transit that much, like haven't needed to.
right.
Um, but I internally feel a thirst to meet new people and talk to new people.
Mhm,
Like, and I know my friends are feeling the same way. Like,
mhm,
my husband and I, we were just talking about, God, what's it like to go to a bar and like talk to the bartender and, hear their life story. Like,
Mm-hmm.
ugh, miss that. Can't wait for that to be okay again.
When was the last
But
time you went out and had a night like that?
we've found ways to go out safely since outdoor dining became regulated, but like we have yet to have an evening where we like sit at a bar and talk to a stranger or talk to the
Mm-hmm.
bartender and just make friends with them and take shots with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's like one of our favorite things to do. And we're not quite to that point yet, but I'm encouraged.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we went over kind of this, at least the feeling I've been getting is I feel like we're kind of over the hump of like resistance in some areas to, this is real and we need to take care of this and each other
Mm-hmm.
aspect of the pandemic. And I feel like people are more, people kind of dissolved into their camps. Like people dissolved into their comfortable taking care of themselves and each other. And then you have the people that just dissolved into, I don't care anymore. Like those are the two camps we have out here in Longmont. Like west of I-25, it's like mask, comfort, pleasant. East of I-25, it's all Weld County, and Weld County never wanted masks. So like you go into the Home Depot and you've got people without masks and people with masks, and it's kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, my impulse answer is like, well, like life is so different. You have those people who are on ranches and they're working the ranches all day and they don't see anybody else. They're around animals. And so,
Yeah.
Being in New York, like I remember the moment right before, no, it was like March 14th or 15th. I was coming home from a run. And I remember the moment I started looking around and realizing like, oh my gosh, everybody else is wearing a mask right now except for me. This is weird. This
Yeah.
is real. I need to
Yeah.
go home and do that. So I think that there was a behavioral adjustment as well, which was really strange and hard. And even coming out of it, I'm finding it feel like you're trying to shift into a new gear on a car and it's like sticking. It's like, I know that logically, like CDC says it's okay to not wear masks outside, but I'm like struggling with it because I've been used to this for so long. And like, I care more about other people, just as a rule of thumb. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just a heartfelt human. Like, if I take my mask off, is your grandma okay? Like, that's my first thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's just life experience and what each person has seen at this point. But
I hear you.
That's the nice answer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say that I've seen a lot of people really step up to become community leaders in helping each other. But I feel like out here, it's been more like the wild Eastern ranchers coming in just saying, But I agree with what you said. I mean, it's different lifestyles, right? And different, like they're not dependent on the grocery store for everything that sustains them through the day. Like they're not dependent on, they truck their own fuel out to farms. Like they don't need city people,
Civilization.
like,
Yeah, that's a totally different game out here where like, if you can't get to the grocery store once a week, well, and I guess this would be with this before like app ordering, like, you're essentially cut off.
What has it been like going to the grocery stores? Or is it first come, first serve? They're only open for certain hours, or
not anymore.
How has that played out?
Not anymore. Right at the beginning, they were regulating how many people could come into the stores. And also for a time, they were only letting senior citizens in 1 hour before open so that they could have their time and like take their time. And it has been crazy watching the evolution of, everybody was afraid to touch food. Like, do you remember people were wiping down their groceries when they were coming home, like spraying them down with Lysol, and like we never did that. We just were diligent hand washers. Like we would clean the surfaces and all that stuff. And but yeah, the grocery stores would clock how many people were coming in or out. Like they had arrows on the floor to like direct, people, which aisle you could go up and which aisle you could go down. And, if you got too close to another person, it was obvious that it was awkward. You look up, crap, I'm too close to this person. Let me step up like 5 feet away or whatever, 6 feet away.
Yeah.
Now it's a little more relaxed. Like, in fact, like I shared a joke with a stranger in the bread aisle. I don't even remember what it was about, but it was this older woman. And, she said, she cracked a joke and I cracked a joke back, and we just kind of shared a smile and a laugh. And it's like, man, it's nice. And that's what I mean by things have changed. Things have changed for me because I appreciate my neighbors more. I appreciate the, hi, good morning. Hi, how are you? Like, it's not weird. I am not interpreting it as, oh, this person is trying to get something from me, or this person is trying to hit on me, or whatever the excuse was, earlier on. Like, obviously I'm still aware of that stuff, but maybe it's just a neighbor who wants to say, hey, how are you? I haven't talked to a new human being in like 24 hours. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Hi, good morning. And learning the names of like the bodega guy on the corner and your laundry guy. Like, everybody's got a sandwich guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's those little things that.
What's your favorite kind of sandwich?
Oh my God, Sausalito on a roll with.
What is that? Will you please take me through that?
Spicy turkey. It's like spicy turkey. It's so good.
Yum.
On like a fresh baked roll with mayo, mustard, tomato, salt, pepper.
Ooh. What's the name again? Lettuce. A Sausalito?
Sausalito. It's You'll have to come out and we'll take you out for bodega sandwiches in New York City.
I would love to just walk around and eat bodega sandwiches.
Oh my God.
Like, that's awesome.
I love the food here. Yeah. I don't know if I could ever leave because I would miss the food too much. So
my stepmom was this little Italian lady, like 5'4", Janice Forlenza. Maybe 5. I don't know. Everyone is really short to me. Let me actually give her credit. Maybe like 5'6". But I just remember her coming up to like my shoulder, but she would whack. If we went into the kitchen on a Sunday and tried to sneak a meatball, whack. And she'd go like this. Bah! She was like a little, and she was funny because she had a chow corgi mix.
Oh my goodness.
So little legs and just floof. And that dog was a bitch, like mean. But she knew it too. She was just the hot stuff.
Sassy.
And like, that was my stepmom.
Oh my God.
She just knew she was the shit.
People look like their dogs sing. Oh my God.
Oh man. But I loved those meatballs. Yeah. She'd brown them in the morning. She'd fry them in the pan, and then she'd have a big cauldron of red sauce.
You just called it a cauldron.
Of gosh,
cauldron. Gigantic pot of red sauce.
Like you stick your arm down there kind of thing,
Yeah.
And she'd make the red sauce and put those meatballs in, and they would just slow and low cook all day.
Oh,
and we weren't allowed to touch them until dinner time, but my dad and I would, sure enough. Mother. Oh yeah.
Hey, yeah.
I miss my dad. I haven't said that in a long time. But so it's like, what she said about, it's like, oh, I'm not wearing my mask, so is your grandma okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hearing about the fact that your dad's okay, like, hits me, because it's like, I want everyone's dad to be okay, like.
Because you know what it's like when dad's not okay, and that's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's a whole other perspective. Like I said, you don't really understand until it happens to you.
Yeah. There was definitely a time in my life when you could quote me. I am Ryan Boley. I am strong, and I will always be able to figure it out.
Mm.
And there was a clear day when I thought, yeah, my name's Ryan Boley. I don't honestly know if I'm going to be able to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. What did you do? How did you get through it?
This only makes sense to me in deep retrospect. But the truth is I don't feel like I ever got through it. It was like I just tried to mitigate the pain as much as I could every day. going through it. And then what I realized was like the whole time I was literally just venting this energy out of me. And slowly over time, I started to recognize that I was stuck in a pattern of my own victimhood. So these traumas that I experienced became basically the foundation for my outlook on life. And I kept reverting back to them in any time of struggle. And what that ultimately became was like, I became my trauma.
Yeah.
And no longer did I have room for new memories.
Oh.
And that realization was really important for me. That's when I knew I was actually in darkness for myself. And it was just like a recognition of a pattern. I was like, wait a minute, I've been like working on this, and I'm air quoting for all our listeners. I've been working on this, just like, there was a period of time where I'd get in my car and go to work, and I'd cry on the way to work, and then I'd cry on the way home. And that happened for like a month straight. And, looking back, I'm like, yeah, I was going through a lot, but while I was in it, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know why exactly I was so overwhelmed. I thought I was just broken. So it was like, yeah, it was like, the other thing too is I don't feel like I'm often asked that question. Like, how did I get here? And how did I get through it? And I think the truth is I had, I'd call my mom every day and I'd just say, please talk to me. Like, please remind me, please help me try to figure out and understand that I'm not crazy and I'm not broken, like, because I feel like I am. And please just talk me back, like talk some sense into me. Am I broken right now, or like what is happening? And that was what it felt like while I was in it. So if I were to sum up the answer of like, how did I move through everything that I did, the key was simply to keep moving. I didn't know where I was going to get or how far I was going to get, but I knew I couldn't stay where I was. I couldn't keep waking up into this idea that I was broken. And ultimately, I think what happened was I simply ran out of energy to keep feeling like anything at all. And I went into this period where I was just really numb. And like I said, I just started recognizing patterns. I was like, I should be past this, but here I am again telling the same story. Like I'm using this story to explain something to someone. Why don't I just not take myself back through everything like I'm still there? What if it truly was in the past and I'm here now? And honestly, that question is still a work in progress for me. Like, what am I now? I feel like I'm more in a stage of life where I'm in self-discovery simply because I ran out of energy to keep doing what I was doing. And what I was doing was hurting. So my brain's going a million miles an hour right now because again, it's not every day that I get asked that. And
I totally flipped the interview on you. Sorry.
I'm really grateful you did, Jen, because this is why we're here, right? Like we're here to talk about this. We're here to talk about how we get through, what it looks like to get through. And I think the most important thing to remember is that it's not supposed to look a certain way.
Oh yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I shouldn't have used the word get through because, if we're talking about grief, mental illness, like those things are kind of circular. Like there is no end. From my experience, like I haven't found it yet. If you find the end of it, let me know. If you plant your flag at the end, but like,
where's the exit sign?
Every day is different. And you just kind of have to take it as it goes. And for me, when my brother died at the end of 2015, he died by suicide, and it shook me to my core. We were very close, and I didn't know didn't know how I was going to get through it. I didn't know what the next day was going to be like. But because I had such incredible friends and my family, um, you know, after a couple weeks when we finally came back to New York, I got on the internet and I said, I need some help. I
Yeah.
can't do this by myself. I need to talk to somebody who knows more than me. And that's where I was able to find a siblings of suicide support group
Hmm.
that was instrumental in my journey and healing, as well as like personal talk therapy. Like
Hmm.
the combination of the two was incredible. Like I couldn't have done it without that. And like I said, with like, I think you're right. Like just not having the energy to be in that low place anymore and finally saying, you know, I need help. I need to get out and
Hmm.
figuring out whatever that means for each individual.
Yeah.
So,
I think what just came to mind is one of the reasons I was so low energy is because I feel like I wasn't allowing myself to actually feel what I was feeling because I kept
mhm.
telling myself that I didn't have time or I needed to just move on or
Yeah,
or
wow.
or or or
I wonder where that came from. Like, you know, gosh, where does that language come from? I don't have time. I don't have time to feel it. Like, well, if this is the first time you're feeling those deep feelings, where is that coming from? Like, is that
Mhm.
something that we're taught? Is that something that media has taught us? Is that, you know, for my story, like I think about the language of well, suicide is selfish. Like, what? What? Says who? Like, have you gone through it? Have you gone through it? Have you known somebody? Like, I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't believe that at all. I think it's 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 not my, you know, it's not my journey to ugh. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say, like, it's not an act of bravery. It's pain.
Mhm.
You know? Like,
Mhm.
it's a person not knowing any other way out. So how could that be selfish? Anyway,
I completely agree with you.
yeah.
I don't like hearing that it's selfish. That sounds
Mm-mm.
like a really, really selfish thing to say.
Yeah, I think it's a misunderstood conception, and within my own circles, like talking about language that I'm like you're talking about, like, let's make a change. Like, yeah, let's
Mhm.
it starts with the words that we use. And
Mhm.
when we're talking about suicide, the term committed suicide, I learned, was coined by the Catholic Church in the time of the plague because so many people were getting sick and dying and ending their own lives from this illness. Like, they were sick with the plague and ending their own lives. So
Huh.
much so that the churchyards were being overrun with
Mhm.
bodies.
Mhm.
So, what did the Catholic Church do? They said, "Okay, ending your own life is now against God's will," so that people would stop doing it. Isn't that crazy? My pastor told me that. I was talking to him for a long time after my brother passed away, and I was like, "What?" Like, whoa, but that language still exists. And actually it was written out of law in like the 70s. So why are we still talking about it like that?
Mhm.
You didn't commit a crime. You died.
Yeah.
Some people die by heart attack, some people die from cancer, some people die by suicide. And I just think it's important that we change the language around that
Yeah.
for the victim's sake, for the family's sake, for everybody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
I and a lot of people that I've spoken to who well, I'm I have several thoughts going and I just
yeah.
want to sort them, but one of the things I've seen is that a lot of times when someone is so close to taking their own life, one of the biggest thoughts going through their head is that they feel like they're a burden
Yeah.
to their loved ones. And they feel like the only option to make their loved ones' lives better is to remove them.
Yeah.
And for people to call that selfish, that's too much disconnect, and that's stigma.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, I've got this tattoo on my arm by Jace Wallingford, you know, and I'll just show you,
Yeah, let me see.
you know, everyone
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
who can see.
He did such great work.
Yeah. You know, and for everyone watching, I mean, you know, Jace put this on my arm, and just a few months later, he put a gun into his head. You know, and it's like I look at that wolf, and I don't think, oh, Jace, how could you do this? I think, Jace, look at what you left. Look at what a legacy you are. You know, and that's what's to be remembered.
Yeah.
Where is your brother now? Where is his grave?
He was cremated, so he was in the military. So a portion of his ashes are interned in Longmont at
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. At Faith Community Lutheran Church. And actually, I have a portion, my dad has a portion, my stepbrother and my stepsister also have a portion as well. So we've all got urns.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, there's always that space that we can visit in Longmont, which is nice to, like, I don't know. For me, it was important to, like, be able to go to a space and see his name, like,
yeah,
printed on it. But I'm totally going to plug right now. I am so proud of the Arnold Air Society of Fort Collins, Detachment 90 over at CSU, because my brother was a part of this group. And essentially, I'm gonna botch this, and I'm so sorry if I do, but essentially the Arnold Air Society, like, it's a group within the ROTC program that focuses on community service. Right? How can we reach out to our communities? And my brother was a part of that while he was at CSU. Ben was a part of it. And he had such an effect on the people there that they decided to create a run to remember in his name the year after he passed away. So it happened. The first one was April 2016. It was a 5K run, and I think there was like 25 people who showed up, my parents included. I couldn't be there, unfortunately, but I did it virtually. And you know, it was this really important event, because I mean, like you said, grief moves in circles, and you just kind of have to cope with it as you do. But they put his face on t-shirts, and it was really awesome to see all these people come out and run. And the most important thing is all of the money that's raised goes to the suicide prevention groups of Larimer County, like, which is awesome. And best part, the race is still going on now. Like, so we are in its 5th year this year. They just did it virtually this last weekend. And I was watching their Instagram, and like, they had people from across the country doing it. People in Hawaii, people in Alaska, us here in New York, like,
oh, cool.
You know, Colorado, St. Louis, like, it was, yeah, I don't know. I just, so cool. So cool to see that still continuing the conversation, which brings me to my next point. Like, I'm so proud, because some of the people that have come out of that, the younger members who at this point didn't even know Ben, because they're, you know, the classes didn't line up, but they are starting the conversation within the ROTC. How do we train these cadets in suicide intervention and prevention? How can we do that? Because it is not just a problem in our communities, but it is an extra problem in the military. So how do we talk about that? Like, I know that it is very taboo to talk about mental health, because you don't want anything preventing you from your active duty.
Right.
You know, Ben he had a pilot's lot. So he didn't want to get grounded. So he talked to me, of course, and I, you know, did my best to coach him through what was going on, but that was his ultimate. He's like, I've only ever wanted to be a pilot. Yeah. This is my dream, and I'm not even going to let this get in the way. Yeah. So let's keep the conversation going, like you said.
I want to go up to Fort Collins because I got a pair of running shoes for Christmas and I used them once. And then I felt like I needed to go to the hospital the next day.
Oh, God.
Because I'm not a runner. And like you said, I'm a pretty big guy. And I ran for about 15 minutes. And it was like I got hit by a truck the next day. Oh, I hurt. I hurt all over the place. Like I couldn't even get out of bed hardly.
Oh, my God.
So yeah, that's just because I'm so not a runner.
Yeah, you do construction. You're basically lifting weights all day.
I can move slowly forever. But if I have to move quickly, there's a time limit.
And 15 minutes is it for right now.
Yeah, if you see Ryan Boley sprinting, something's really wrong. Like something's on fire.
Oh my God. Good to know.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm yeah, I can backpack like a truck. Or like a shark maybe, I won't ever stop. Like I don't ever run out. I just, yeah, and the steel toe boots, gosh, I had probably 4 extra pounds of mud on them this week.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, oh man, it's just sometimes, just life.
Yeah. Yeah. Unpredictable.
So did you have a semblance of like, were you going to therapy before what happened with your brother?
No.
Actually, I want to be really direct right now. I just, in that moment, when I went to ask you about your brother, I didn't know exactly how to phrase that with what happened with your brother. What is a way I can say that when your brother died?
I think it depends on what you're specifically asking. Like, it's pretty painful to ask somebody who knows somebody close to them who died by suicide. Oh, how did it happen? Let me just grab my popcorn and ask you this traumatic event. Like that's probably the worst thing to ask somebody.
Yeah, no way.
In this situation. And unfortunately, I've encountered too many people who have taken their liberty with that question. And I've since learned how to circumnavigate like that scenario. But
I'm not asking what happened. When I refer to what happened, because you spoke about the importance of language.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to get out in front of this thing. And what's the best way to ask? Because people need to know this, because instead of shying away from it, maybe it would help to know how to go into it.
Maybe if you phrase it like if you were to, if you feel comfortable talking to me about the events that led up to his death, I would be willing to listen. Yeah. Or, you have to ask permission, because some people are very not ready to talk about it. Or some people don't want to dishonor the memory by talking about all of the bad stuff that led up to a death. Like, it's hard enough not thinking about that sometimes. That you're trying to conjure up the good times, the happy memories when you're laughing, and you really can't, because you're just focused on the emptiness of the aftermath.
Right.
So I think it just depends, but I think asking permission, or just giving whoever you're asking the opportunity to say, I'm not ready to talk about that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Provide extra space.
Yeah. I think we could all do that just in our normal day-to-day, like, if you feel comfortable telling me this, like, how was your date last night? Like, not just like, let me just assume that it's okay. But,
well, I was curious about, because I asked this question, right, about an event in someone's life that really brought awareness to their own mental health. Like, because for example, for me, that time in my life when you said mental health, and I was just like, oh, that's something other people deal with. That's not me. And then now I'm clearly like, no, that's something that I manage every day. And sometimes it's hard.
Oh my gosh.
So that's why I asked if, if you had been going to therapy before that happened. But that was all. That's where that question came from. Because I know, well, I mean, just, I remember my first therapist when I was like 4 or 5.
What?
Oh yeah, because my parents were getting divorced, and they like the house was full of screaming, and I remember getting carted to this building that I didn't know where it was, and I had to go into this room, and all I remember was at the beginning of each session, I got a little juice box with apple juice and a little chewy granola bar, and then I'd like sit and play with clay. And I don't ever really remember, like I remember somebody asking me questions like, how's it going at home? But that's literally all I remember. But I remember I guess needing therapy from a really young age.
Wow.
But even being in therapy, not being aware of why, or like what I think one of the things that I really came to light for me when I started seeking out therapy for myself was all of the things that would bug me day to day that I wasn't doing anything about because I didn't know how they were affecting me. I thought I knew they were uncomfortable, but I categorized it all in like, that's memory in the past. I can't go there. Like I didn't know how to interface, but it was actually going back into the past and looking at my journey from childhood to now that helped me kind of put the pieces together in my own mental health scale. Because it was like, well, look at how that past childhood experience fed into your year after year habits, into like the way you manifested relationships, into everything, the way you literally look at the world.
I think it is so important to, like, I advocate for therapy because also it's just so nice to have another person to bounce ideas off of. Like, let me talk to you about this scenario, and you don't know anything about any of these other people other than what I've told you. So tell me, like, how do I navigate X? That has been awesome. Just like you said, like normal, average day to day, because you never know what's going to affect or what's going to compound or, my own experience being in therapy for so long, I was, led me to a realization that my genetically, like my family struggles with depression and mental health issues. Like it's something that we never talked about. Like family members. Anyway, yeah. I think that needs to be a more open conversation. Like, would we be where we are if we all knew that? If we all talked about it? If it was okay?
Yeah, because I know I'm incredibly predispositioned to addiction because addiction runs strong in both sides of my family. Like it's taken out several members of my immediate, family line.
Wow.
My dad, my grandma, my grandpas, both my grandpas, like both my grandmas. But you're right. That wasn't anything like growing up, going to my grandpa's house with my dad, my dad's dad was like, to talk about, like, if first of all, if you said mental health to him, he wouldn't know what you were saying, let alone
it's like an alien language.
Yeah, because it just wasn't taught. I feel like the most immediate generations previous to us were very much like that. We don't deal with that. Like we just don't deal with that. We have other things to do, or so we thought. But it just feels now, I honestly feel like one of the first members of my family line that's like, hey, we ain't perfect. We need to talk about this right now because it's tearing us apart.
Yeah.
I'm done pretending.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally. Yep. Yeah. It's unfortunate that the threshold is now, but also what a great thing that the threshold, like that you hit that now and you're like, it's time. It's time to talk about it.
Well, and I talking to people through my life and history, I went to rehab, and some of the nicest, most incredible people I've ever met were there, all kind of going through this like social anathema experience. But just being able to be like, because I feel like one of the barriers to entry to getting help is this idea that it's, so first you have the layer of like, oh, well, try harder first. And then you get to the layer of like, okay, well, go ask for help, but keep it specific. But I think if we were to just open up as a generation, as a people, and start to have a different conversation that included things like, yeah, that did happen. And I don't feel very good about it. Do you?
Yeah.
What's going on? Like,
Yeah.
let's not take this with us for the rest of our life.
Yeah.
And never talk about it again.
Yeah. And check-in, like check-ins.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
How you doing today?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so important.
So we just hit our hour, and
Okay.
I 100% want to know how you're doing, because we can stop now, but only after your surprise.
Oh my God. Okay, well now I'm so curious. I'm a little afraid.
Okay.
What is
Are
this?
you overheating in your studio right now?
No, I'm good, but
Okay.
the anticipation.
Okay. Well, so for all our listeners, Jennifer Walder is an incredible singer, and she's a songwriter. I'm not. But today I have a song that I would like to sing you.
Oh my God, I'm so ready. Okay.
So let me just make sure
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself so I don't like do anything weird.
I'm gonna mute myself and then clear my throat just out of politeness.
Yeah, edit that out later.
Okay, so yeah, after all this time, I still think about that song you sang in Spanish, and I want to sing you a song. So
Wait, what song in Spanish?
you sang in front of like the entire school, and you sang alone, and you sang a song in Spanish.
What?
Yeah, it was Westview Middle School.
Okay. I don't remember this. I wonder what it was.
know my memory serves me with that. And it was in Spanish too. Like, I geeked out about it for several years after that. I was like, you know Spanish? Like,
Oh my God. All right, any Westview listeners out there, if you can remember what song this is, I want to know because I don't remember.
yeah, Jennifer Walder sang a song in Spanish the whole school, and she did it alone, which was super badass. So if you know that song, come forth. But this song that I'm going to sing is, I heard it for the first time on NPR radio, and it's called The Cape by Guy Clark. It goes a little something like this. He was 8 years old with a flour sack cape tied all around his neck. And he climbed up on that garage. He was figuring, what the heck? Well, he screwed his courage up so tight it all came unwound. And he got a running start, and bless his heart, he headed for the ground. Well, he's one of those who knows that life is just a leap of faith. So spread your arms and hope to fly, and always trust your cape. Well, he was all grown up with the flour sack cape tied all around his dreams. And he was full of spit and vinegar. He was busting at the seams. Well, he licked his finger and he checked the wind. It's gonna be do or die. And he ain't afraid of nothing. He's pretty sure he could fly. Well, he's one of those who knows that life is just a leap of faith. So spread your arms and hope to fly, and always trust your cape. Harmonica solo. Well, he's all grown old with the flour sack cape tied all around his head. And he's still climbing on that garage. He will be till he's dead. And all the while, people said he was acting like a kid. Well, he did not know he could not fly. So he did. Well, he's one of those who knows that life is just a leap of faith. So spread your arms and hold your breath and always trust your cape. Well, he's one of those who knows that life is just a leap of faith. So spread your arms and hold your breath and always trust your cape.
Yay! Yay! I've never heard you sing before. Oh, that was beautiful.
That was my surprise.
I love it. Oh, I love it. Oh, I love a musical surprise. I love it. Oh, yeah. Do you need a fan now? Are you 8,000 degrees over there? Woo,
Yeah.
take a breath.
I did my top button. Whew.
Yeah.
Undo my top button. There we go.
That was awesome.
So, well, yeah, I just wanted to do that because you've given a lot of gifts to a lot of people with your voice. And I really appreciated what you said today about giving people a little bit of space as we come back together. And yeah, asking for permission. I really loved that one too. So thank you, Jen.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's been awesome.
Yeah. For everyone listening, you can find Jennifer Walder on Spotify, iTunes, where else?
Amazon.
And Amazon Music. Please go there because she's incredible. Also, if your name is Abby Christofoli and you're listening to this, I want you on this show. So here, mark my words, Abby Christofoli, I want you on the Treehouse. And Jennifer told me, she just brought your name up and I lit up. So if you're listening right now, I'm coming for you. I have one more question, just because I do like, the call to action part.
Yeah.
Just in general, we're moving into this new age where COVID really stripped a lot of layers away from people and showed them a lot of what really matters in their life and what doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
What do you recommend for everyone moving forward to help create tighter bonds within our communities and in order to help each other move forward?
Be kind. Be kind to each other. You don't know what anybody else is going through. So the first answer is always kindness.
Yeah.
Because you might be on the other end of that someday, and it might be really nice to see somebody and share that moment,
Yeah.
Kindness is key.
Be kind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And remember, you can smile with your eyes, even if your face is behind a mask. So get those eyes a smiling.
Smiles.